It's pain, process, power.
If no one's told you lately, because everything is perfect, but because I'm done waiting for. Welcome back to Power Moves. I'm your host, Seshet McPherson, and today's guest is someone whose career speaks for itself. He's an associate teaching professor at Bowling Green State University, Smith-Thorst College of Business, with nearly 3 decades of experience in risk management and insurance. Before entering academia, he served as Senior Vice President and Director of Insurance at Citizen Financial Group, one of the nation's largest financial institution, managing over $137 billion in assets. Throughout his career, he has led major corporate insurance programs, from property and liability to executive risk, workers' compensation, and professional liability, protecting not just companies, but people and reputation. He's a certified insurance counselor, certified risk manager, and associate in risk management, bringing both technical precision and leadership experience to every room he walks in. So today, I have to honor of sitting down with none other than Professor Roc Starks, a man who has mastered the arts of managing risk, building resilience, and leading with integrity. Thank you, Professor Roc.
No, that's a lot. I don't think I've ever been described that. That's good.
I'm so grateful to have you here.
Okay.
So today we are talking about risk. And, in your opinion, I want to know, how do you define risk in business and life today?
Okay. Well, there are lots of different definitions of risk. If you talk to someone like me, I think in terms of operational risk. What if there's a fire? What if there's an earthquake or something of that nature? But if you talk to finance people, they'll talk about things like credit risk, the risk of someone, loaning someone money and they might not pay you back, or compliance risk, or a number of other different types. So risk is a term it's kind of fluid. But what I think about is what are the probabilities? What are the chances of something happening that causes some financial loss of some sort?
Okay, that sounds like what risk, like breaking down what risk is. And to you, do you think risk is something that we should avoid or we should manage?
Well, it's impossible to avoid. If you get into a car, there's the risk of of driving an automobile. If you're going to do any sort of business venture, there's a risk that it might not succeed. So risk is really impossible to avoid. What you have to do is sort of think about how do I take this risk, but take it in a manner that's manageable and sustainable, and doesn't cause major problems. So risk is just a part of life. And the key is to have a good sense of what risks are reasonable in terms of an opportunity and what risk you should never, ever take.
Wow. Okay. I totally get it. And in your view, how does rich people view risk differently from average people?
So when you ask that question, I think of, it's funny to think this way, but I think of Jeopardy, right? The game show. And if you're a regular tune into that show, early in the game, people are very much willing to risk all their money. But as they attain more money, they become more and more risk averse, right? So they wager less and less. And I think that's an analogy or a symbolism for sort of how wealthy people, if you've attained a lot, your sense is that you want to protect it.
Yes.
So I think once you have wealth, whether it's individual wealth or corporate wealth, you become a little bit more risk averse and are less willing to take chances. whether it's your retirement money, your corporate funds, your savings account, you become more conservative, I think, as you sort of have more to lose, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Whereas say you're early in your career and you or as an investor, you're a young person, you can take a lot more risk with your finances than you can at the age of say 63 or 64, where losing a significant sum of money would be more impactful.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in finance and insurance, I know that protection comes before profit. Why do so many people skip that step?
Well, I think people aren't quite aware of the risks. I mean, if you think about Americans in general, we're sort of I want to say this without sounding crass. We're sort of consumer driven, live for the moment. The future will take care of itself. And I think a lot of people just think, well, I'll be okay. Nothing bad will happen to me. And so I think there's a mindset that people don't really think about. People look at insurance as a necessary evil. Like, I have to buy insurance.
Yes.
They don't look at it as an opportunity to, for instance, in life insurance, save significant sums of money or pass on an estate to your heirs. So I think it's just more of we're not very good as a society at being long-term thinkers. We're very much immediate gratification, instant gratification. Let me see what I'm going to live for today.
Yes.
And they don't see the long-range implications of not planning.
Wow, that's very good.
Okay.
That's a good one. So if somebody's building their career, or business, what are the first type of protection a person should take on, if it's financial, legal, or personal?
If you're talking about individuals, what a lot of people overlook is the chance that their health could impact their finances. So if you can't work and you can't earn a living, then it's going to be very difficult to meet your goals, meet your objectives, sustain your lifestyle. So a lot of people overlook having a good health insurance.
Yes.
And another aspect of there's a statistic that between the ages of I think it's 18 and 59 years old, you're 4 times more likely to become disabled than you are to die.
Wow.
And so disability is also a huge factor in not being able to sustain your income, not being able to sustain your lifestyle. So I think a lot of people overlook the chances of a disability or a health scare that could have a pretty significant impact on their finances.
Oh, wow. That is something. And can you talk about how insurance ties into freedom? People see it as an expense, but isn't it really like a security?
Well, if we're talking about life insurance, yeah, or I guess property and casualty insurance with respect to your the things that you own. But again, I think most of us sort of wander through life sort of like a leaf in the wind, and we don't have a plan. We're not very good as a society at budgeting or thinking about how our short-term decisions affect our long-term status. So, for instance, I teach a personal finance class, and we talk about spending. And I notice always in the room somebody has their Starbucks coffee, right? $7 worth of coffee. And so I use that as an example. If you spend $7 a day, 5 days a week, and we do the math, and we calculate that, what $35 a week times is that $140 a month times 12 months, right? And we say, what could you have done differently with that $140 a month that would have had a better impact for you? So again, I think that holistically, the problem is we don't think about long-term implications of what we do today and how it can impact us 10 years down the road or 15 or 30 years down the road. Yes. So we're sort of short-sighted overall in terms of finances.
Okay. And how would you say someone's mindset around risk affects their decision making? And it could be in money, relationship, or even business.
Well, again, if you're very risk averse and you do nothing more than put your money into a financial institution like a commercial bank, you're not going to see the investment results that you might get, for instance, in the stock market or even in the bond market. So I grew up with grandparents who I don't think ever put a single dollar in the stock market. Right? They were banks. They had lived through the Great Depression, right? And so they were very conservative financially about where they allocated their money, where they invested, and it affects your thought process in terms of how much risk am I willing to accept. And I took a lot more risk financially in my 20s and 30s than I'm taking now, right? Because I'm at that point where I have assets I don't want to forfeit.
Okay.
And so in your 20s, you have the benefit of time, or even into your 30s, you have the benefit of time. So if you have a hiccup, if you have a mistake of some sort, there's time to recover. But there becomes a point where there's not time to recover financially, especially if you're on a fixed income. You just have to get more conservative.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. Just even like hearing your view, with me in my 20s too, like going through a situation, I feel the same way. Like, a couple years in your 20s, you can actually, like recover from a situation than somebody's in their 40s and they have kids, they're married, and their stuff are like, invested in certain assets as well.
Yeah.
It's very hard to recover.
If you have time, the classic example was the company Enron, the energy trading company, and they had encouraged their employees for years to invest in Enron stock as part of their retirement planning.
Yes.
And then it turns out, very unusual case, they were committing fraud. The senior people in the company were committing fraud. And when that all came to light, all the people who were on the brink of retirement lost their entire retirement accounts. So that's a worst case scenario. And if you're 63 years old and you're on the brink of retirement and your entire retirement account evaporates, you really don't have time to go, well, I'll start over.
Exactly.
So that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. And, Roc, you have taught over like thousands of students in your lifetime.
Yeah, I think.
What have you noticed about certain students that are able to take on more pressure and risk? What do you notice about their, what do you notice about those students?
Well, I think it's a question of engagement. If you come to class and you're curious and you want to find out, how this class will benefit you, then you get involved, you come to office hours, you ask questions during class, and those are the students that are excelling, that are getting good grades, that are going to do well after the class has ended. It's difficult when you can look at a student and say they're completely not engaged. They had to take this class for whatever reason, it's a requirement for their degree or whatever, but they're just not engaged. They're not focused. I don't have too many of those, fortunately, but you can certainly see the ones who are curious, the ones who are active are going to just do better, not just in my class, but overall in their careers, I think.
Yes, that makes sense. And Roc, for anyone listening and trying to make power moves, what are 3 risks they should take and 3 risks they shouldn't, in your opinion?
Oh, wow, that's a lot. I guess from a finance perspective or a financial plan perspective, it's okay in your, as I just mentioned, when you're a young person in your 20s and 30s, it's okay to take some aggressive risks in terms of where you invest. Now, go ahead and get into the stock market. Get into some investments that you think have long-range, long-term benefits to you. Another risk you could take is don't be afraid to change careers. Your generation is going to change careers and jobs much more frequently than mine did. We were all about get that job, stay there, be stable. You guys will have better opportunities to go to other parts of the country, probably other parts of the world. So don't be afraid to take chances with your career. So that's 2. I have to come up with one more. I guess don't be afraid to travel. Right? A lot of Americans don't see the rest of the world. And I think it does change your perspective to spend,
Yes,
at
that's
least
true.
even if it's a vacation or a short-term stay, to see other countries, to see other perspectives.
I think you learn more, even like being in other person's culture.
Mhm.
It opens you up to more resources, more thought, more thought process, how you go about doing things.
Just to see a different perspective.
Yes.
So those are 3 risks I definitely would take. 3 risks I would not take. You have to stay in school. You have to be persistent. If you're a young person going to college now and you're watching this, then stick it out. And one of the most underrated characteristics a person can have, I believe, is persistence. Just the ability to not quit, not give up. In my career, over 30 plus years, as you mentioned, thanks for bringing that up. There were days you just don't want to do it, right? You just don't want to get up early, but you do, and you stick with it, and you have to be patient. So don't be afraid to exercise some patience at work and some discretion.
Yes.
About, I don't feel like this is the best fit for me.
Exactly.
But I need to stick it out.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of value to that. So don't take the risk of changing just for the sake of change.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Sometimes people just get tired. I think about new restaurants, right? What happens in every town in the United is a new restaurant opens, all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, I have to go there. I have to check this. Well, that's okay. That's our nature. Go see what's new. But don't do that to the detriment of the rest of your life and your plans.
Yeah, that is true. Well, thank you so much, Professor.
Yeah, I'm glad I could be here.
Yeah, it's been an honor to have you, and I'm sure.
I feel great that you even thought I was worth doing something. So.
Oh no, you are definitely more than worth it.
Okay.
Yeah, but you had great insights, and the viewers will love everything that you have to say, and I'm sure that they will learn something from it, because the truth is, power isn't in avoiding risk. It's in how you manage it wisely.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Catch you on episode 12.